This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Welcome back, everyone. Maximum Effort. During the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, they feature a ton of Easter eggs and references to characters, things just in general from the Fox Marvel movies like the X-Men films, the Fantastic Four movies, some of the MCU Marvel movies, even like the Punisher movies, non-MCU, non-Fox Marvel movies. But a lot of them are also weapons, powerful objects, one of them so powerful that it's greater than the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet. It's a big plot point in the movie, so we'll break it all down.
Oh, what the Thanos?
There's always a lot of questions about this too. Power scaling in the Marvel movies, like what are the most powerful things, the most powerful beings? There are a few things in the multiverse that are more powerful than the Infinity Gauntlet just in general, so we'll explain them too, even though they spent all of the Infinity Saga of Marvel movies hyping up the Infinity Gauntlet. There are way more powerful things in the comics, and some of them they've already featured in the movies. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. They'll be starting the press tour for Deadpool and Wolverine real soon, so expect a lot more of those random non-trailer videos from Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman just clowning on each other on the regular. But during the last couple trailers, we've gotten a pretty good look at what's going on during the movie. Deadpool starts in his original X-Men universe, the X-Men universe. He's already changed the timeline a little, but it's still the same universe as those original X-Men movies, which are both the Bryan Singer X-Men movies, the First Class movies, and the original Fantastic Four movies, all meant to be from the same universe. Really good example of him messing with the timelines. He killed his variant from Wolverine Origins.
It's me. Don't scratch. Just cleaning up the timelines.
He gets taken to the TVA, takes on the mission to stop Cassandra Nova, then eventually finds this Wolverine variant played by Hugh Jackman and gets his help in stopping her. They wind up facing an evil band of Fox Marvel characters from all those movies, like I said, X-Men, Fantastic Four, some Punisher characters too from those movies, probably even more that weren't in the trailers. And if that weren't enough for the two of them, just facing a bunch of powerful people in their own right, Cassandra Nova being the most powerful mutant here on the Void because her powers are the exact same as her twin, Professor X, she's also spent all of her time since she was pruned and sent to the Void there, collecting other powerful artifacts that get pruned from across the multiverse and dumped there. Like the Void is the multiverse trash dump for the TVA. That's how stuff like the Thanos copter wound up there, the Kang Tower that replaced the Avengers Tower, the Sphinx, the Great Pyramids, the Golden Gate Bridge from X-Men Last Stand. It's an infinite list of Easter eggs and references to other Marvel movies, not just the Fox Marvel movies. Can't wait to see how they explain the 20th Century Fox logo there, like what was that Nexus event? Part of Cassandra Nova's plan, though, is to escape the Void, conquer the multiverse. Very standard villain plot, like very easy to understand. The Council of Kangs are kind of doing that right now, heading into Avengers 5. No big surprise, nothing special there. Normally, Cassandra Nova brings her band of evil Marvel characters to another universe to conquer it. You'd think that that universe of heroes would just assemble their version of the Infinity Gauntlet and use it against her. Like the Illuminati of the 838 universe were able to defeat their version of Thanos, who had already partially assembled his Infinity Gauntlet. And if they could do that, they also had their own living Professor X at that time. Defeating Cassandra Nova, who's basically his evil twin, stopping her in her tracks, wouldn't be that big of a problem. And there are many other versions of Professor X out there in the multiverse. So under normal circumstances, you just say villain defeated, multiverse threat eliminated, no big deal. But during Deadpool and Wolverine, what makes this Cassandra Nova so much worse than your standard Marvel villain, like the big upgrade that turns her from a bad into a big bad, which is a big Buffy term if you never watched that show. Like the villain of a series starts out being a bad person, having some power, but then they gain some huge upgrade, some big power that turns them into the big bad. Cassandra Nova in Deadpool and Wolverine becomes a big bad because she's collected way more toys, way more weapons, and she's collected what is arguably the greatest weapon in the multiverse. So just going down the list, these are some of the things that she's collected. Not all of them as powerful as others, but all very important. She's got Pym particles, which she would have stolen off of this dead Ant-Man after he died in the Void, already very powerful. She's got her own version of Cerebro they've constructed here. You can actually see it in the background when she's fighting this variant of Wolverine. You can see they've constructed a Cerebro inside Ant-Man's skull here, so it's also protected by Ant-Man's giant helmet too. That allows her to amplify her telepathic powers even more. She was already crazy powerful without it. She's also got one of Magneto's helmets, a Magneto's helmet, we're talking about multiverse here, protecting her from other powerful psychics like Professor X variants who might have wound up there on the Void, Emma Frost variants, Jean Grey variants. She's also got that sling ring which can open portals we see during the trailer. All those very powerful things, but the real ace up her sleeve in all this is Alioth himself. You can actually see her calling Alioth to this Ant-Man base of theirs and eating some of the TVA agents here, going after Deadpool and Wolverine, basically using him kind of like an attack dog. So even though it is really cool to see her using all these other powerful toys and weapons, none of them are nearly as important as Alioth, because Alioth is way more powerful than something like the Infinity Gauntlet, which at the moment in the movies is one of the most powerful weapons any group of superheroes, any of the teams in any universe would ever be able to bring to bear against her should she show up in their universe, even Jean Grey in full Phoenix form. There's always tons of questions about this, about power scaling, like what's more powerful, the Phoenix Force, what could defeat that? They actually covered a lot of this in the comics during the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet arc. To understand how powerful the Infinity Gauntlet is compared to other people, other things in the Marvel Universe, you need to look at Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, just wiping everyone that comes against him. He was kind of afraid of Odin and the other Skyfathers, but he also defeated him in full Odin Force form. And we're not talking about the weaker MCU version of the Odin Force. This is like the full comic book Odin Force. He's way more powerful in the comics. He crushed cosmic beings, the Astral Conflagration, which includes Galactus, Eternity, Oblivion, the Lords of Order, and Chaos. A lot of these cosmic entities that were also featured during Thor Love and Thunder, like really top-tier cosmic entities. That would also include the Celestials as well. Thanos basically slaps them all out of existence like it's nothing, like no big deal. And if he can wipe Galactus at full power, Galactus, when he's at 100% power levels, can stand against the Phoenix Force. So if Thanos can clap Galactus with the Infinity Gauntlet, he can also do the same thing to the Phoenix.
I have to break your neck. It's just the way it is. I'm just a messenger.
They also got into this power scaling issue at the highest levels during Loki. Like, what's more powerful than the most powerful thing you've seen so far, like the Infinity Gauntlet? And that is Alioth, for a couple reasons. During the Loki series, He Who Remains, Kang, explained how Alioth works. He is from the comics, but the MCU changed Alioth's backstory. He's meant to be a multiversal cosmic entity, meaning there's one of him in the entire multiverse that was created during the first Kang Multiverse War, when the damage to reality from all the different universes being destroyed, the different timelines going to war with each other, caused a bunch of fractures in reality. He was born from those fractures, so essentially he's an extra-dimensional being that was born from outside of reality. Kind of like the Beyonders, but he doesn't have their level of intelligence. That Kang explained he was able to gain control of Alioth and use him to win the first Kang Multiverse War by just having him consume, basically hoover up, entire timelines, entire universes. Multiverse Trash Compactor, that's how powerful he is. He can literally hoover up entire universes like it's breakfast. That's basically what He Who Remains had him doing after the Kang Multiverse War on the Void, just sitting there waiting to eat anything that got pruned and keeping him trapped there with that impenetrable barrier, which is why later the Council of Kangs wasn't that worried about Alioth either, because he was trapped on the Void. So if Alioth was able to consume all those other universes that the other Kangs came from, those other timelines during the first Multiverse War, it means he was powerful enough to literally eat each version of the Infinity Stones in every universe, every Infinity Gauntlet he came across, like it was no big deal. This one simple thing, like a simple line of dialogue, basically makes him one of the most powerful beings in all the multiverse. And during the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, it looks like Cassandra Nova has used her powers, also boosted by Cerebro here, to gain control of Alioth, just like He Who Remains did. It seems like her plan is to use him to consume or conquer the entire multiverse, and that's probably why the TVA can't stop her themselves and why they need Deadpool's help. Also, probably, they don't care if Deadpool dies, so they're just happy to throw as many Deadpools at her as possible, until he winds up being successful. They kind of got into this during the Loki series, but Alioth seems like he's barely conscious, like he has a low-level awareness to him, kind of like a giant dog, which is probably why Cassandra Nova was able to take control of his mind. His mind was just very weak, or what passes for a mind. During the movie, Deadpool and Wolverine will have to stop her, probably in a very twisty Deadpool kind of way that's both really WTF and funny at the same time. That's kind of how Deadpool movies go. He saves the day, but in the most messed up, unexpected way possible, kind of like he Kramers himself to a victory most times. I don't know if we're going to see any other big cosmic beings in Deadpool and Wolverine or weapons that are as powerful as Alioth. There are a couple we've seen in the Marvel movies already, and some they haven't adapted from the comics yet, but keyword yet, ... First big one, literally and metaphorically, is the Living Tribunal. We saw the real Living Tribunal finally during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness when they were traveling across universes. It's also a multiversal being like Alioth in that there's only one for the entire multiverse, and it sort of serves as like the judge, jury, and executioner for the one above all. It's also one of the few cosmic beings that Thanos did not wipe with the Infinity Gauntlet during that original Infinity Gauntlet arc. Inside the live-action MCU, there's the new God form of Loki. God Loki is more powerful than all the Infinity Gauntlets inside the timelines that he now controls. Like, he basically controls everything inside the normal multiverse, but not outside the normal multiverse, which is why he can't stop anything that's happening on the Void Planet with Alioth during the movie. There's the Beyonders, which haven't been featured in the live-action movies yet, but they were featured during the more recent comic book Secret Wars, and the Beyonder from the classic 1980s Secret Wars, which was featured during the Spider-Man Secret Wars episodes back in the 90s.
Think of me as one from beyond. Call me the Beyonder.
He's basically meant to be a younger member of their race. Their powers are extra-dimensional. They're incredibly powerful. God Emperor Doom basically took their power to become God Emperor Doom and make Battleworld during the newer Secret Wars. The Beyonders are also extra-dimensional beings like Alioth, who existed outside of reality. And then there is the one above all that everybody always points to, the one true God of everything in existence, which they'll probably never do in the movies just because he's so OP. He would break any story that they put him in. They're like the little g gods in the Marvel Universe, like Thor, Odin, everyone from Thor Love and Thunder in Omnipotence City. Then there's the capital G god. And there is one thing that is more powerful than the one above all inside the Marvel Universe, Marvel Comics, Marvel movies, and it is actually something that we've seen in previous Deadpool trailers, Deadpool movies, also in the She-Hulk series. It's the ability for them to actually stop the movie or the TV show and break the fifth wall. The main difference between the fourth wall and the fifth wall is the fourth wall is when they address the audience who's watching the fictional movie, like they recognize that they're a fictional character addressing the audience watching what's happening. Breaking the fifth wall is when they address the actual writers of the fictional thing that they're in the middle of, like the movie or the TV show.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupter?
Even forest bump.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yes! But I can't.
Deadpool did that during the recent trailer when he was making the Kevin Feige jokes, talking about how he was not allowed to do the snowman, so to speak, during the movie. That was the one thing he said was off limits. Theoretically, that would make Deadpool more powerful than the one above all, but obviously there are certain limitations to stories that they tell, like movies that they actually tell. But for a brief moment, you could actually argue that Deadpool is the most powerful character in Marvel Comics. Do not be surprised, though, if we see more Easter eggs for like really cool items or weapons from previous Marvel movies, though, in the next couple of trailers. Speaking of Loki cameos, there are going to be some TVA cameos in the movie, like we've seen some of them in the trailers so far. Hunter B-15 is also supposed to show up. I don't know if Loki himself is supposed to appear during the movie. I'm not expecting it, but we'll see. They might just save him coming back for like Secret Wars or something like that. But there's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We have the X-Men 97 finale part 1. That'll be episode 8. My video for that will post next week after they release it. But it's a 3-part finale, so there'll be 3 episodes, 1 per week. So it's just part 1 next week. Everybody click here to learn about some of the other big cameos that are happening in Deadpool and Wolverine, and click here for all my X-Men 97 episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.